Today I'm going to be discussing the new moon in Aries occurring on Tuesday the 21st of March at 5:22 p.m. GMT. I'm going to be talking about some of the energies and themes that are present in this lunation, as well as the aspects and how to work with them. So do get yourself a nice hot drink, settle back, relax and enjoy. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So some of you may know that I've been creating new and full moon forecasts for Patreon, and I've been sharing some of this information on my Instagram, and I've also been creating new and full moon custom tarot spreads to go with each lunation, and I create a full written forecast for each lunation with the aspects, how to work with them, how they may be presenting within our lives, depending on which house the relevant sign occupies for you in your natal birth chart. My forecasts also go into shadow work that you can practice, as well as ritual and practice ideas and suggestions, and herbs and crystals that you can work with as well. And you also get a downloadable PDF of the tarot spread. So that is still available on my Patreon at the moment, and I've decided to start doing videos to go with these as well, because I really enjoy putting these forecasts together. I really love working with the moon, and especially looking at how, as the moon moves through the zodiac signs, the new and full moons are so different from one another, and even more so when you look at the different aspects that occur. So I'm really passionate about this, and it's an absolute love for me. So that's what this is all about. I really hope that you enjoy. So let's just get right on in to discussing the new moon in Aries. So as I mentioned, the new moon in Aries occurs on Tuesday the 21st of March 2003 at 5:22 GMT, and this new moon is occurring at 0 degrees and 49 minutes of Aries. This new moon occurs hot on the heels of the Spring Equinox, which occurs at 21:24, that's 9:24 p.m. GMT on the 20th of March. The energy of this new moon once again highlights completions and new beginnings. There is an overwhelming bootcamp vibe I feel from the energy of this new moon. There is tension in the form of a square from the Sun and Moon to Mars in Gemini. However, this tension feels like a challenge with the potential for great results, like a muscle flexing or an elastic band. So now feels like the time to make the move, take the chance, make a fresh start, get the ball rolling with a project that you've been considering. So as previously mentioned in my last forecast, March is a month of dynamic transformation astrologically. Saturn is now at 1 degree of Pisces, which is the very same degree of the Pisces new moon. This again emphasizes these new beginnings. The ruler of this Aries new moon, Mars, is due to ingress into Cancer on the 25th, following its long journey through Gemini. Pluto is a power player in this new moon at the critical anaretic 29th degree of Capricorn, and due to its upcoming ingress on the 23rd of March. Pluto is also due to engage in a long-term T-square with the North and South Node in April. And in case you need that extra jumpstart push from the universe, there will also be another new moon solar eclipse at the critical anaretic 29th degree of Aries on April 20th. So that's something to keep in mind. There is also a powerful upcoming square between Pluto and Jupiter occurring in May, and that's currently brewing. So there's an overwhelming bootcamp vibe. There's tension in the form of the T-square from the Sun and Moon to Mars in Gemini, and from Mars in Gemini to Neptune in Pisces, which is making an out-of-sign conjunction to the new moon. However, as I said before, this tension does feel like it has a great amount of potential for results. So now really does feel like a great time to take risks with something that you wanted to set intentions for, or that you already have set intentions for. Whilst I was feeling into the energy of this new moon, I kept receiving images of workout music videos, Kanye West's Fade, Olivia Newton-John's Physical, and Call on Me by Eric Prydz. Then I realised the song in the video, which for me sums up the energy completely, and that's Sierra's Level Up. Of course, the energy of bravery, confidence, success, and taking physical action is very much aligned with the archetype of Aries anyway, so it perfectly fits for this Aries new moon. But there's actually a reason why I feel like this image was coming to me. The new moons obviously are also a lot about setting intentions and planting seeds. Again, a metaphor which works really beautifully at this time of year, as we've just had the Spring Equinox in the Northern Hemisphere. I just kept feeling this energy of an elastic band and like muscles flexing and growing. The new moon in Aries evokes this energy of leveling up for me because there is something about the reformation or regrowth of a muscle which required refinement and strengthening. And again, there's the metaphor of working out, but I just keep seeing this muscle which has either been underused or overworked or injured from having been worked in the wrong way. And it now has new techniques, new ways to work and exercises to engage with. And this reworking is strengthening the muscle and challenging it in new dynamic ways. Within the restful moments between the work, that's where the muscle rebuilds and becomes stronger. This muscle metaphor feels so relevant for me because I feel that the planetary shifts are supporting to mold us to be stronger, to reframe toxic thought patterns, to cultivate a tribe of like-minded soul friends, to replace unhealthy habits with sustainable practices and routines which support our growth and well-being, and by extension then support us to achieve what it is that we are setting intentions for, or that we have dreams for, or that we don't feel ready to set those intentions for yet. So it may literally be a new workout program or a class to improve your fitness, or it could be starting a new job with more flexible working hours or a more healthy team dynamic. It may be working through codependency issues or discovering that you can go to certain places on your own or achieve something yourself alone without the support from another, or something that you didn't believe that you could do before. There are myriad ways this energy may be showing up in your life, depending upon the area this Aries new moon is occurring for you in your natal chart. Essentially, this bootcamp energy feels challenging, but positive in a get shit done kind of a way. The energy is fresh, dynamic, empowering, driven, and fortuitous, and it feels safe to go for what you want to achieve now. It's about trusting where you feel guided. So there are layers of questions to consider with this, such as, what do I want to continue? What do I need to prioritize or release in order to make space for the new? Where might I need to schedule in some time for that restful liminal space, that space where the muscle rebuilds and repairs? You may feel that part of you has already been renewed or has a different perspective or viewpoint. And in my opinion, this is likely in part due to Saturn's ingress into Pisces. And again, we'll continue with Pluto's ingress into Aquarius. With Pluto at the 29th anaretic degree of diligent, determined Capricorn, it's as if there's this metaphorical push up the steepest, uppermost point of the mountain before you reach the pinnacle. And this driving force can support you with whatever it is that you're hoping to achieve if you work with the energies. So you may wish to ask yourself about the areas you've been considering. If you're not sure, you can check your natal chart in whole sign astrology to see which house Aries occupies for you. This is where the new moon is occurring. And for clarity, you can also look at which house Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces occupies, as these signify the areas of your life impacted with the Saturn and Pluto changes. So to check, generate your natal chart using whole sign astrology with free online software at astroseek.com or astro.com. The watery moon is a little uncomfortable in fiery Aries. However, Aries does make for a courageous, resilient, and spontaneous moon. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, making this lunation the start of the zodiacal new year. Aries is the cardinal, assertive, or active, and that's masculine by duality, not referring to sex, fire sign, and it's symbolized by the ram. Its ruler is Mars, the god of war. Aries is confident, energetic, willful, assertive, ambitious, headstrong, independent, empowered, fearless, youthful, and a great leader. Shadow traits include impulsiveness, anger, insensitivity, arrogance, and a domineering or autocratic attitude. The Aries superpower is their self-awareness, the understanding of their own needs and triggers, and an ability to advocate for themselves and ensure their own survival and comfort needs are met. Aries is primarily concerned with the self, survival, will, energy, and an activation of passion and power. A healthy expression of Aries, however, is not selfish, but self-aware of their own needs, and by extension, ensures allowances for space, time, etc., for rebalancing, self-soothing, calming, relaxation, rest, etc., so that their goals are met in the most effective and efficient way via the fastest route possible. To recall the workout metaphor, it's the rest days and the sleep time which allows for muscle regrowth and strengthening. So I'm going to discuss a little bit about shadow work that you can engage with, but the shadow work really is discussed throughout the entire video. No one can perform at peak 100% of the time. I've said this before and I will say it again, you're not a Duracell bunny. Aries is not a Duracell bunny. By its nature, Aries being the sign of cardinal fire is great for that first fiery push, but doesn't quite have the endurance to always follow through to the end. And that's why allowing room for whatever processes have to happen in between the working hours or the actual doing of the thing, whatever it may be, so that the rest can be had, the thoughts can be processed, the ideas can be refined, the words can marinate, the relationship can deepen, etc., is so essential. So with the new moon in Aries, we're called to invest time, energy, and resources into our relationship with ourselves, our internal world, and what we are drawn to achieve or manifest for the coming year. How can we work towards building or rebuilding supportive structures for ourselves, our mental and physical health, to enable us to be strong enough to go ahead and pursue what it is that we want to achieve? Aries rules the head, the face, the brain, and the blood. Our life force energy and our brain is impacted here. These areas and activities concern our health. So we can ask ourselves if we are not caring for our health, vitality, and life force, and what is the quality of our output into what we are hoping to achieve. So as the brain is of relevance here, and with Mercury also in Aries at 5 degrees, close to the new moon, it's an ideal time to journal and brainstorm some of these old wounds or patterns or shadows that come up, anything we've been healing, reframing or reworking, and to discern who we are now, how we've changed, what we've learnt, how these lessons can support us to understand what we wish to continue or let go of as we move forward with our plans for the year ahead. This new moon in Aries is the most auspicious time to not only set your intentions for the goals, dreams, plans, projects, innovations, and initiatives, but also to get clear on the steps towards achieving your goals and actually to take action, however small, to initiate the process now. So harness that Martian energy of fearlessness and drive and be ambitious with your intentions. It's also vital to be clear on the other requirements that I've discussed, such as, are you going to need more sleep for a big project at work, for instance? Might you need some rest days if you're planning to run a marathon? If you're writing a book, you may have to postpone or finish other projects or say no to other opportunities. You might need support for childcare from a partner or a parent at the weekends if extra time is required. The first thing is to get clear on what and why, and be sure that you're willing to invest the time and energy required, and figure out how much. You need to work backwards to ascertain what your individual needs will be if you are committed to making it work. It's all too easy to commit to too many engagements, events, plans, tasks, courses, challenges, projects, etc. without prioritising which ones are going to be the most important for you and which ones are your main focus, and without really considering just how much time each one is going to take away from you. Bottom line, you have to be able to take care of yourself and any dependents, keep food on the table, and have a bit of spare time for rest and play. And whatever time is left can be utilised. So this process will be so unique for every person, but always consider the time required and try to allocate more time than you imagine that you will need. So you could try time blocking your hours in your schedule if this helps you. The Mercury conjunction to the new moon in Aries will be supportive at this time for processing, writing, communicating the requirements and allowances for self-care, rest, and other work. Work with this conjunction to fuel your cerebral processes There may be some doubt, dreaminess, or confusion with the Mars in Gemini square to Neptune in Pisces. So don't beat yourself up if there are parts of the journey which appear to be unclear. Just be clear on the what and the why and make a plan for how you will get there, allowing for the unknowns. It's a great time to do that shadow work I spoke about at the Pisces new moon, which for some may not have necessarily been the right time to do it. And this practice will help you to understand more of how much time and energy it will cost you and what needs to shift in your life as it is in order for you to make space for the pursuit of this goal or desire. So on paper, create a mind map specific for your goal to understand more of what is required, and then create a second mind map for yourself and your responsibilities. Consider all obligations, to-dos, responsibilities, and pick out anything that isn't a priority or that you can ask for some support for. Aim to create enough space to accommodate for your goal and then some. Perhaps create even more space if you think you're going to need more time to rest, have more fun, or sleep, etc. If you currently have too many responsibilities and none of those can shift, you may need to make a longer term plan. So honor your time and your well-being. At the previous new moon in Pisces, I suggested that you may wish to build a human clause and contract with yourself. The contract stipulates that above all, your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual needs and well-being and that of your loved ones take priority over everything, which means if you can't find the time to complete that course right now because you have a job and little ones as well, now might be a point in your life that you simply have less time to dedicate to such a big task. For me, I'm absolutely in a place right now where I want to enroll in lots of courses, offer readings and services, write a book and create more content. But I have to face the fact that I'm already spread too thin with a job and 2 kids and just living and being like a PA for my kids at school, plus the content for YouTube, Patreon and Instagram and my own spiritual practice and development, and then just staying sane and looking after myself. So I'm hoping that in the coming years, as my children grow up, I will find I have a little bit more time to dedicate to some of the projects I dream of investing in. This is a phase of my life. It is beautiful as it is, and I'm so grateful to be a mother. And I want to enjoy every moment at this time while they're still young. When they're older, it will be another phase of my life. And my mum always reminded me of that when I first had my kids. So for me, full transparency, I need to work this exercise to figure out where I can actually pull back and get some more time for rest. But I still hope to achieve certain goals this year. And that's where my problem is. This is where my shadows peek out at me. My fears, anxieties, insecurities, my perceived shortcomings. So as you work through this exercise, if you choose to engage in it, you're likely to notice some resistance to the work or some frustration. Perhaps you're not sure if you truly want what you previously thought you wanted. What mental and emotional ties do you have to any of the obligations or responsibilities you listed? Can you notice how you respond physically and mentally when you think about them? If you read each one out loud, do any of them make you feel ashamed, worried, frustrated, inadequate, stressed, overwhelmed, or anxious? Are any of these responsibilities self-imposed rules? For instance, a coping mechanism which you form to support another habit or problem? Do you notice a need to behave in a certain way or to perform at a certain level for the approval of another? Just pick one to start with because this work is really challenging and it will take a while, most likely. Start with listing what comes up and how you respond to that and ask yourself why. Does it remind you of any experiences or circumstances, people, places, memories, triggers, wounds, etc.? Keep probing and asking yourself why and how, and if any of the memories or experiences resurface, write them down. Shadow work your attachments to any of the to-dos and work through those before you put pressure on yourself to actually achieve anything or start anything. This is deep spiritual and emotional shadow work. It is intense. So only engage in this if you feel safe and comfortable to at this time. Don't feel pressure to do this kind of shadow work now if it's not the right time. Just as I said at the Pisces new moon, the same applies. Firstly, if you're struggling with a mental health condition or your overall health or you're burnt out and you're not feeling ready to push forward with your plans yet, that's where I'm at. That's all just as it should be. So do not push yourself to engage with this work. You may already feel clear on what you want and that you have enough bandwidth, time, energy, and resources to just go for it. In which case, I would suggest you perform a manifestation ritual of some form or other. You can access all of the ritual ideas and practices that I've included in the full forecast, and that is on Patreon for you now. So you can click over and join us on Patreon, and get access to that every month, and that includes shadow work, all the aspects, how to work with them all, workarounds, magical practices and rituals, as well as a custom-made tarot spread and a PDF for that as well. The medicine with this Aries new moon is in the purpose-driven action. So if that action right now needs to be resting in bed for a week due to your personal circumstances, that is what's right for you. So make that the intention. It doesn't have to be spell work for this big dream that you still have in the back of your mind. It can be an intention each day to get out of bed if that's something you're struggling with. Like I said, just make the intention what it needs to be for you. So it's the purpose-driven, intentional action that is the medicine here. Any intention that you set for yourself must match your needs, but it can also push you a little further and challenge those muscles in a new way. So perhaps if you're studying for an exam, for instance, but you're mentally burnt out right now, intentionally give yourself some rest time, more sleep, a walk outdoors each day, an evening off, have an engaging conversation about something completely unrelated to a friend or a loved one, or watch a funny film. When I was writing my dissertation, I would literally give myself gym breaks. I would write from 8 a.m. until 12 p.m. and then I would run on a treadmill to clear my head and then refuel and continue until 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. with comfort and coffee breaks, of course. But it just gave me so many ideas and supported me through that process of using my mind so much and being so engaged. I could then engage myself physically, and it really helped. This might just look like a small mundane intention and manifestation. It doesn't have to be mammoth, but it might be. So what the Aries New Moon asks from us is that we can challenge our perception of what we can achieve. Metaphorically, how heavy we can lift, but with the correct form and adequate rest time and fuel to sustain ourselves and achieve maximum results. Essentially, it's the path of least resistance, which is absolutely the path that magic and manifestation tends to also take. So even if you're invested in what is seemingly a huge goal, such as writing a novel, for instance, if you're able to create some time and space for it without compromising your health or responsibilities, if you can break it down into smaller tasks and schedule a small chunk of time for it in a way that fits your routine and lifestyle, you will reach your target. It may take several years, but if you can create a routine that is sustainable, remain passionate about your goal, and commit to consistently showing up, you will get there. The clarity in what you want and sustainability in terms of the routine by which you make it is so crucial, because it's so common to give up, either due to loss of confidence, lack of motivation, comparison, perfectionism, life circumstances, health, etc. There may also be bumps in the road, but you don't have to give up if there are. Take your time and utilize the fire of the Aries New Moon to drive you forward with the first steps, however small, right now. It's not the destination, but the journey. New moons are always an auspicious time to set intentions and sow seeds for the lunar cycle ahead, as well as the 6-month cycle until the full moon is in the same sign. So consider how you would like to feel at the full moon in Aries in 6 months from now, even if your goal or manifestation is a longer term goal. So you may wish to envisage yourself. You could get yourself into a trance state if this works for you. Envision yourself 6 months from now, if your goal is within 6 months or less. Otherwise, envisage yourself fully achieving your goal and your manifestation coming to full fruition. How does that feel in your body? Tap into the way you feel emotionally and physically, and any thoughts that come to mind. Write these down if you can. You may wish to vocally evoke your manifestation into being, or invoke yourself as the version of you who has achieved this goal already. Always imagine, envisage, or speak as if you already have what you are setting an intention for. So, as I said, I have more rituals and practices listed in the rituals section on Patreon. So do click over and get access to that. You can find out which area of your life will be most affected by looking at your birth chart. As I mentioned before, determine which house 0 to 1 degrees of Aries occupies for you. And this is also likely to impact those with planets or points in cardinal signs, most notably. There are so many ways that these energies may manifest for us in our lives. So again, looking at which houses the impacted signs occupy in your birth chart will tell you a lot about the areas that are supported or implicated during this lunation. So you can use AstroSeek or astro.com to look at your whole sign natal birth chart. So I'm going to talk briefly about a few of the aspects, and the rest of the aspects are going to be included in the Patreon forecast. So as I said, click over there to discover how to work with these aspects. The Sun and Moon are conjunct, of course, at 0 degrees 49 minutes of Aries, and they're also conjunct Mercury at 5 degrees of Aries, and they're also making an out of sign conjunction to Neptune at 25 degrees of Pisces. So these energies are working together. And whilst it's a great time to work with the planetary magic of Mercury to mentally get clear, write out, and verbally express the inner workings, personal feelings, as well as physical life goal practicalities, you may also need to consider the perception of time, appearances, and illusions with the Neptune conjunction. For instance, the perception of time shifting depending upon your activity and mood. Taking this into consideration may further support what you're planning to work on. For instance, if you want to write about a fantasy novel, tapping into that dreamy, otherworldly Neptunian energy to inspire the subject. But you also know that when you write, you often get absorbed in all the creative work and lose track of time, or take your plot or your character to different kinds of twists that you hadn't planned for. Then it's something you need to be aware of. This isn't necessarily a problem unless you miss the school run, for instance, because you forget to look at your clock. You may wish to set an alarm and allow ample time for the exploration, or perhaps you can schedule in more time before you write to plan out different options for your character and plot so that you have a clearer direction and it takes less time for you to get to your desired aim of finishing a chapter or that section of the book. So the example aside, essentially there is a certain dynamic that these planets bring when they are communing in this way for the lunation. It may bring spaciousness for clarity of mind and opportunities for troubleshooting and problem solving, or for some it may be experienced as further confusion, cloudiness and distraction with that Neptune influence. So you may wish to work some planetary magic to temporarily minimize the effects of Neptune on you as you work and to temporarily dial up the intensity of Mercury. And you could use planetary glyphs and a charm for this, visualization, candle magic and a petition, or if you're more ceremonial in approach and you have some experience, you can invoke the planetary intelligence and then the spirit of the planet to direct it. But be aware, if you do this kind of working, there may be other effects, such as you might feel a heightened anxiety with Mercury's dialed up awareness. The conjunctions also allow for us to use both our left and right brains simultaneously for the work. So you might wish to work with both planets at the same time to petition them for their support with whatever you wish to work through during this new moon, whether or not you choose to engage in the shadow work that I've mentioned. And as I touched on previously, the magic of Mercury enables manifestation via breath, speech, the written word, and correspondence. So you may wish to utter words of power, sing, write out your intention as if it's already manifested, as well as envisage the results. And this is a highly powerful practice, and it can be worked in myriad ways and an ongoing way as well. You can tap into the energies in very practical ways. For instance, using my dissertation experience again, when I was deep into the writing of my dissertation, my friends and I were all going out a little bit less than we did in the terms preceding. So a few nights a week, I might have a couple of glasses of wine at home. I didn't make a habit of this, but once or twice I continued to work whilst I was drinking, mostly just subbing and editing sections as I drank. I did practice this mindfully and carefully, but I noticed quite quickly that the presence of the Neptunian alcohol in my system shifted my perspective somewhat from a very clinical, daylight, straightforward approach to one of more depth, nuance, and spirituality. I received so many downloads of precious wisdom and divine insights into what I was exploring, and I was able to look at the complex themes and topics I was unpacking in my dissertation and add rich layers to push the work further. I always went back over anything I'd added or noted down the next day when I had the alcohol out of my system, so that way I could refine, reword, or expand upon whatever complex simplicity I had begun to weave with my words. So it was coherent and it could be backed up with examples or quotes, etc. I received a first class honours for my degree, so I think that this practice did pay off for me. As I mentioned, I would only engage in this practice mindfully and in moderation, and if you're safe to do so, if it's relevant for you even. The Sun and Moon in Aries and Neptune in Pisces are also sextile Pluto in Capricorn at that critical anaretic 29th degree, which is absolutely driving us forward with an energetic push up the mountain. Pluto is like the friend cheering you on during the final leg of a marathon. This is telling you to have faith, to believe in yourself, your abilities, and that this is the right time to go for what you want. Again, you may wish to work with Pluto and your magic at this new moon to build confidence and empowerment in your strengths and abilities, and also for the areas within which you may perceive yourself as less successful or capable. The Sun and Moon in Aries also make a trine to Black Moon Lilith in Leo, the apogee of the moon, the furthest point, and a point which exemplifies the energy of the divine primordial mother, the chthonic feminine, or the dark goddess. This is also a force for empowerment, rebellion, fighting for liberation from oppression, fighting with the voice of the matriarchy against the dominant, misogynistic, and restrictive forces of the patriarchy. Please note that the patriarchy does not mean men. The patriarchy is a system of control that is prevalent and mostly retains power over the collective mindset of the people. The patriarchy mostly benefits white, cisgendered, heterosexual males and seeks to control and oppress women, marginalized communities, minority cultures, BIPOC folks, gender non-conforming LGBTQIA people, and those with fewer financial resources. People contribute to the patriarchy, sometimes unknowingly, because it is so ingrained in our culture, and having an awareness of how this plays out in our own lives is so vital. This may be affecting you personally and bringing up fears, anxieties, traumas, and shadows that you formed as a result of being oppressed by the patriarchy. Look to which house Leo is for you to work through whatever may be coming up. This is a fight song for you to stand up and be heard, to tell your story if you wish, to support others to heal, or to write about your pain. And it may be a time for yourself when you realize that you are strong enough and you're feeling stronger, and you can then look at what happened to you and consider your pain and the effect it had on you and the tremors that rippled through your life and impacted your experience of the world and yourself as a result. You may be accepting that something you took the blame for a long time was not your fault or caused by you. So sit with yourself, hold space for yourself if you feel safe to, feel into the discomfort, try not to push it down, repress or gaslight yourself. Approach this work with caution, but if you do engage, be mindful that it will be challenging and you will need to give yourself unconditional love and witness what comes up with neutrality and compassion for yourself to avoid spiritually bypassing your experiences. The Sun and Moon in Aries is also square Mars at 28 degrees of Gemini. As previously discussed, this aspect may appear challenging, but it's a force to be reckoned with. So think of it as a resistance band for your workout. Remember, I mentioned the elastic and the exercising of the muscles, the flexing. If you put in the work and meet this challenge head on, you can make huge breakthroughs around ongoing battles with doubts, fears, anxieties, unhealthy habits, toxic beliefs, self-imposed rules, etc. Part of this work is radical self-acceptance, radical self-love, and if required, perhaps a sacred rage ritual, or if you prefer, go to an ecstatic dance class or a high-intensity interval training workout or a boxing workout. These will also do the job, so long as you do what you choose to do with intention. So channel those anxieties and habits and projections and judgments and frustrations into your workout. Or scream it into a pillow, punch a cushion, or throw a cushion, but just avoid people and objects and be safe. I really love a good dance cardio workout, and I can't think of anything better than dancing to a Sierra playlist to release the energy. Obviously, including the song we mentioned at the start, Level Up, and not to mention Work with Missy Elliott. Try it, let me know. With that Neptune conjunct the Sun and the Moon, you may also wish to paint to channel and release the energy. As discussed previously, working with Mercury's influence with the conjunction may also feel supportive for you, as you may find it easier to verbalize or write out what you wish to release. However, I would only recommend this if you know that you're focused and you feel up for it. The reason being that there is a limitation on Mercury, with Mars also square to Neptune at 25 degrees of Pisces. For some, this may cloud judgment and clarity of mind even more, and the best thing to do in this case is to be physical, as I demonstrated with my dissertation workout breaks. So affirmations, mirror work might also be really great to help yourself through a fog of confusion, especially if you're doubting your strengths and abilities. Mars in Gemini is also trine Saturn at 1 degree of Pisces, which I mentioned previously, is in the same spot as the previous Pisces new moon. I feel an echo of the themes discussed around completions and new beginnings and the shifts necessary for us to move ahead to concretize our dreams into manifest reality. As Mars in Gemini trines Saturn in Pisces, we get a mutually supportive communion between the two planets as they marry intentionally focused drive, ambition, and creativity together with rationality, stability, and sustainability. Another extremely supportive green flag, go sign, to get you motivated and believing in your own ability to achieve what you have set your intentions for. So this is not a time to shy away from taking a risk, boldly stepping outside your comfort zone, following your intuition, and speaking out. Take inspired, intentional action, and you will witness the benefits as a result. So there are some further aspects to discuss. I go into greater depth in the full forecast. So if you want to read more about those and discover how to work with them, do click over to Patreon, as I said. There is a Mars in Gemini quincunx with Pluto in Capricorn, which is somewhat of a disconnect. So that might be some kind of setback for you, depending on where this falls for you. Jupiter at 16 degrees of Aries is also conjunct Chiron at 14 degrees of Aries. Again, expanding on these themes of healing, growth, evolution in ways in which our pain can help us to fortify and support others with healing and stand up against gaslighting and to refuse to be victim blamed, to stand strong in the face of those who seek to lie, cheat, manipulate, control, and oppress. Venus is also in its domicile at 5 degrees of Taurus and conjunct the North Node exactly. And this highlights that same healing note that I'm going deeper into in the full forecast. And again, Venus and the North Node in Taurus are also square to Pluto at that critical 29th degree. And again, it's a powerful, challenging aspect, pushing us to go bigger, demand more, take up space, love harder, follow your bliss. There's also a sextile from Venus and the North Node to Saturn in Pisces, which again serves to stabilize and ground any potential conflict. It also adds another layer of support if we reach for it, as we truly begin to understand and honor our own self-worth and make those promises and commitments to ourselves to leave behind toxic habits, unhealthy thought patterns, outdated beliefs, fake friends, etc., as we move forward with newness, stability for our dreams and visions, and solid plans to get started with what we set intentions for. As with so many of the lunations, there's so much going on here. The work I've suggested and mentioned could take months to complete, and that's okay. So just see this new moon as the spark, the catalyst, the jumpstart you need to get going, and allow yourself patience, grace, kindness, compassion, and love as you travel on your journey. Be gentle with yourself and make allowances and room for mistakes, errors, etc. And there is much change still to come, so be sure to ground yourself as and when you need and tend to your spiritual, mental, physical, and emotional needs as you desire. Thank you so much for joining me. I really, truly hope that this has served you. Please remember to click over to Patreon, and there you can access the full forecast. You can read much more in detail and depth about the aspects at play here within this lunation, and I'm also providing some beautiful rituals and practices, some suggestions for you to engage in that will be really supportive for you at this time, and some more insights around what might be helpful for you at this time depending on what you're going through. I am also suggesting some beautiful herbs and crystals that you might wish to work with during this time, and what these things can aid you with as you do your work with this moon. So I really, really hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that this video has been enlightening and supportive for you and your journey. And if you enjoyed it, please do click the thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't yet subscribed. And also click that little notification bell to receive notifications when I create videos just like this and other witchcraft and tarot content. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I also have a Patreon where you can access the full written forecasts for the new and full moon. These forecasts also include further practices and suggestions for rituals and shadow work, as well as herbs and crystals that you can use in your practice for this lunation. I also include the tarot spread for the particular lunation, and that is bespoke to the moment. So on Patreon you can download a PDF of that. And the graphic is also available on my Instagram. If you wanted to look at the spread prompts there, you can do that. So do click over to Patreon and join us there if you would like more content like this. I also create some custom Book of Shadows pages with rituals and recipes that I've included on the channel, so those are occasional as well. So do come over to support the Patreon. I'd love to see you there. There's also a Discord server, which is really lovely as well. And follow me over on Instagram as well, where I share quite frequently what I'm up to, what I'm reading, what I'm working on, etc. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed this video and it serves you. If you made it to the end of the video, please leave me a little moon emoji. Do take care of yourselves. I look forward to seeing you in another video really soon. Many blessings. Bye.